not moving. Oh, there it goes. It's alive. Help.
It's
Help.
got me.
It's eating my daughter.
Hey everyone, it is Sleepy Reader, aka Damien. It's the comic book countdown. My comic book countdown, which is also my reading diary of the new comics I've been reading. So I've got 9 comics from this past Wednesday that I read, and I put them in order of my personal subjective enjoyment of them at the time I read them. Although there's a little bit of a cheat, maybe. Sometimes there's an extra layer of something that makes me realize how much I enjoyed one comic over another. So one of these comics I read with my daughter a second time. After had read it, I read it out loud to my daughter, and that increased my enjoyment of it. So that comes into play. Another one I was chatting about with Rasa and Comic Crack and the Comic Board on the show on Rasa's channel. I'll link to that for anyone who's interested. The long Sunday comics chat that we do. Anyway, as I talked to them about it, I realized even more how much I liked this one particular comic. I mean, I probably would have ranked it at number 1 anyway, but I hadn't thought about my rankings yet at that point. Why I need to worry about telling you those details, I don't know. It's my comic book diary, so these are things that I thought about. I'd say that art played a big role in my enjoyment of things in general. I enjoyed all 9 of these comics. Even the one at number 9 is staying on my pull list. And we'll see what happens with that comic as time goes on. But so in at number 9 was Gun Honey, number 2. And I enjoyed number 1 more. I enjoyed the cover of number 1 more. And I enjoyed the interior art more on number 1, even though it's the same artist. And I still think the story is quite interesting. And I don't object to the idea that this is a character who uses her sexuality a lot in her line of work of sneaking guns into places. However, I did have I guess I'm not going to show the page. The one full page splash in this comic is of 2 naked women having sex. And it just gave me a double. It's not why this is ranked at number 9, but it just gave me a moment's pause of like, what is this comic really about? I think really they want to tell their story, and they want to see if a little extra sex will sell. But I don't know. Some people might really like it that a sex scene is the one thing that gets a splash page. I didn't. I just didn't feel like it merited that for its role in the plot of the story. But unless it's sending a message of the larger story, which is this larger story is really going to be more about sex. I don't think it is. So anyway, so this was at number 9. Hopefully I will like future issues more the way I liked issue number 1 than this issue. In at number 8 is Eat the Rich. This is quite a good book and a very good art, very good color. I really like that. Better than the cover, really. I like the interior art quite a bit better than the cover. And the cover is by a different artist. The interior artist is Pius Bach, B-A-K. And so this is our story of a girl who wants to marry this really rich guy, and she's becoming part of their society, where part of their custom, their tradition, is to eventually cannibalize their domestic help. And it's part of the contract, so the domestic help knows this is part of the contract. Pretty crazy story. I think I might have ranked it higher if I just wasn't really in the mood of such a depressing story about labor relations. And I like to think at least not all the rich are this bad. I don't think Bill Gates cannibalizes people. Or what's that guy, that old guy with Hathaway Investments? No, what's it called? Berkshire Investments. What's that guy's name? Anyway, I think there's a lot of variety amongst the rich. If there are cannibals amongst them, I wouldn't assume it's all of them. Anyway, it's kind of a cool book. I just maybe wasn't so much in the mood for it to be depressed. Not All Robots, I ranked at number 7. And I guess in a way this is depressing because, it's about, in the background is kind of the social and environmental collapse of humanity. But it didn't strike me as that depressing. For whatever reason, I was able to take it at a more abstract level. But I think I am still hindered by the artwork of Mike Deodato, which is, it just seemed even more stiff to me in this issue, if that's possible. And I know a lot of people think it actually works really well with this story about robots, but for me somehow it's just missing something. Or maybe even just like I said previously, maybe if the coloring was even more fun. So I know it's a humorous story, but the art kind of holds me back on that. So otherwise it might have been even higher rank. But anyway, like I said, everything here I enjoyed. Definitely enjoyed reading Not All Robots. A big surprise and a big kind of weird experience is I enjoyed reading Thor a lot. I somewhat enjoyed it, reading it the first time. While this is the one I read twice, once by myself and once with my daughter just before her bedtime, because I still every night read with my daughter before bedtime, and because this is basically an issue of the Pet Avengers, and as a Pet Avengers story, it's very charming, or it's the beginning of a Pet Avengers story. It is a very there's just a little bit of story in this issue. It's just set up for a future Pet Avengers adventure. At least I assume so. There was something in the next issue cover doesn't look like it's going to be about the Pet Avengers though. So that had me confused because it looks like this whole issue is just a preamble to another issue or another series of issues where the Pet Avengers will go off and have some humorous adventures. Maybe that's going to be in another comic. That would be weird, but it's possible. So on that level, it was Donny Cates and the art team of Pascal Ferry and others. I think was Matthew Wilson the colorist. Matthew Wilson was the colorist. Did a fantastic job of making a really fun gathering of the team of the Pet Avengers. I mean, I really enjoyed it, especially reading it out loud with my daughter. I still don't like the Thor that suddenly we're faced with here in this issue and the past few issues, who's not only kind of weak, but he's also, I don't know, he's a bit of a fake, a bit of a phony. I'm just not liking him. And I guess, some people like the idea of the Thor that's just a buffoon that they make fun of, but he's not even that here. But ultimately, I want Thor to be my hero. And it's not feeling that way right now. Okay, and then at number 5, I put the second issue of The Death of Doctor Strange. They should call it The Strange Death of Doctor Strange, but anyway, that's just me. It's interesting, and I just noticed it's a really fun comic, basically. I just noticed that it's divided into chapters, so I didn't notice that while I was reading issue 1. So issue 2 begins with chapter 3, and later in the book we get chapter 4, and that's kind of nice. And on that note, while I was enjoying it, I think as I was reading it, I was thinking, hey, this would be even better in trade. Like, this is a really fun throwback to, I don't know, lighter lighter Marvel times, a good rousing adventure with lots of Marvel characters, but decompressed. So it's going to be an excellent trade read, I think, for comic book readers of all ages. I would think this might turn out to be the kind of gift I might give to a 12, 13, 14-year-old who might be interested, or even maybe a bit younger, in Doctor Strange and Marvel Comics. So the writer Jed MacKay, which I'm not too familiar with, is doing a really good job. Lee Garbett makes it really adds to the fun, and the colorist Antonio Fabela, does a good job within the confines of modern coloring of evoking a lighter, more fun side of Marvel. So, we've got our big bads, we're gathering the forces, we've got touches of humor and things like that, so it's quite cool. It's funny because the cover, there is no funeral in this issue, and the cover gives you a much more sober, serious kind of feel than the interior. But very good. I on a whim I picked up the Death of Doctor Strange issue number 1, and I liked it, but I thought, I can read this eventually on Marvel Unlimited. But then again on a whim, maybe because it was a slower week for me, 9 comics or 8 comics if I hadn't picked this up, I picked this up, and maybe partially because I opened it up and I liked the look of the art, but I'm really glad I did, and I guess I'm hooked now. I don't know how many issues it's going to be. Oh, actually, I probably do, because there's a list that goes up through the Death of Doctor Strange number 5 of all the comics you should be reading. Now, there's the catch. I'm not going to buy all those comics, I don't think, at this point. I should never say never with comics because I buy so many. But, there's Death of Doctor Strange Avengers, Strange Academy Presents The Death of Doctor Strange, Death of Doctor Strange Spider-Man, Death of Doctor Strange White Fox, Death of Doctor Strange Blade. That's kind of interesting, Blade. Death of Doctor Strange X-Men with the Black Knight. It's kind of intriguing, but I will definitely keep buying the main book, and hopefully that's enough of the story, but we'll see if I'm tempted by some of the others. It would be the first time in a long time that I'm sucked into a Marvel event, although it still looks like a lighter event than your average one. We'll see. So Doctor Strange was in at number 5. In at number 4 is a comic that I've just been loving since issue 1. I picked it up at random, I guess. Savage Hearts from Dark Horse, written by Aubrey Stitterson, art by Jed Dougherty, and coloring by one of my favorite colorists, Laverne Kinderszewski, who may be one of my favorite colors because often keeps the idea that coloring in comics should be fun and joyful. And this whole comic is kind of fun and joyful with these wacky characters, a crazy fantasy world, and some role reversals in terms of the husky barbarian is the female lead, who the more slight and acrobatic male lead is in love with. Anyway, so it's kind of a delightful comic. I think there's just one more issue. Did it say to be concluded at the end? Yeah, one more issue. So maybe Dark Horse now is going to do more 5-issue miniseries instead of 4-issue miniseries, which I heartily for. But I've really enjoyed this Savage Heart thing. I guess I should try some more Aubrey Stitterson, keep wanting to call him Stitterson, comics, and keep an eye out for Jed Dougherty. And then in at number 3, perennial top comic, Usagi Yojimbo, the Dragon Bellow Conspiracy. At first I didn't like the cover art. This whole miniseries or maxi series, I think it's supposed to be 12 issues, has covers by David Peterson. And at first I didn't like his take on the look of the Usagi world. Here's the cover for the next issue. But I'm actually beginning to really like it quite a bit. So maybe I should look into his art elsewhere. This is a real long form story, and I do think I'm enjoying it a little bit less than I enjoy Stan Sakai's shorter stories, his 1, 2, 3 issue stories that I've mostly experienced in the past. But there's still a lot of delights here. And maybe it's mostly this issue because it's the big battle issue, and big battles, they're harder to make charming. If you're just there for adventure and pictures of people having sword fights, that's great. But that's maybe not what I look for in Stan Sakai's work. You know, if it were by John Buscema or Barry Windsor Smith or something, it might be fun just to look at a big battle. Not that I rank this at number 3 in a strong week, but if this were my first Usagi comic, I might not be as impressed. Normally, I would tell people just jump on a Usagi, but with this Dragon Below thing, I think Bellow conspiracy, I think just either get all the issues or wait for the trade. The one interesting thing is it felt like the story had wrapped up. It felt like this could be the end right here. So I'm very curious. If it is 12 issues, we have 7 more issues to go. And yeah, it has that feeling of a concluded story. So maybe Stan Sakai has some surprises up his sleeve for me yet. In at number 2, and maybe for a while I thought this was going to be my number 1 comic, is Porcelain issue 3. It basically just continues the delights of the first 2 Porcelain issues. And a reminder, this is a European comic from 2012 being reprinted by Ablaze in American comic book form. And it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, a horror version of Alice in Wonderland, or a little bit of one of certain aspects of Sandman. I mean, it could be all a dream. It's not, I don't think. But these 2 girls are trapped inside an evil, magical house that traps lots of girls and kills them or turns them into mannequins. I can't quite remember. And this issue is mostly them going through parts of the house looking for the way out. And one of the girls, who's been trapped for quite a long time, was... I just got a message on my phone that I'm filming on, so I got distracted. One of the girls has been in there a long time and doesn't think there's any way out, but the new girl trapped in there convinces her that maybe they can find something. So it's just a really good union of story and art, which is not surprising because the artist is the writer, and an artist who seems very confident in her storytelling. You know how sometimes when artists are the writers, they suddenly just sort of start putting in too many words or something like that, or the story doesn't feel like it has a story worth telling, but this feels it has none of those flaws. Anyway, I just enjoy looking at it over and over again. It's definitely just a passage in a longer story, and I hope they publish this at its proper European size eventually in the United States, and not just keep it at this standard comic book size when they print it in a book form. And finally, my number 1 is at that larger size. And it is this new Catwoman book from DC, but also from Cliff Chiang. And to my knowledge, it's the first time Cliff Chiang has drawn, written, and I believe colored and lettered his own book. And it always does, I was just talking about an artist who's a writer. It always makes me nervous when an artist writes for the first time. That often does not turn out well. Or actually, I should take that back. Most artists, when they start writing their own thing, do a pretty good job, but it always feels to me like not always, often feels like there's some subtleties of making a really good story that the artists haven't yet mastered by the time they start writing. But that's not the case with Cliff Chiang, at least to judge by this first of 3 chapters, I think, in this Catwoman Lonely City comic. It's set 15, 20 years in the future. Catwoman, and obviously it's kind of an Elseworlds, it's a world where Batman is dead and died in Catwoman's arms. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe she got accused of killing him and that's why she went to jail. Or perhaps there was some other charges that got her in jail. But so she comes back to a very different city that's policed in a very different way, and there's special ID bracelets for everyone, and they're Batman. The cops dress up like Batman, kind of Batman riot gear, and Two-Face, Harvey Dent, is the mayor of the city, but supposedly all reformed and a good person again. And Penguin is permanently offshore with his offshore gambling and is an older man now, but still, got his fingers in crime. And Catwoman wants to get back in the game and become a criminal again, but she's older and stiffer. I don't know. I'm not describing it very well, but I thought they pieced together a very good story. And there's a mystery based around Batman's last words to Catwoman that she wants to solve. And I don't know. It's like all the characterization is done really well. The art, of course, is fabulous. I wasn't going to pick this up, or I struggled with myself. I didn't put it on my pull list because I just kind of sick of Gotham stories and Batman stories. But I couldn't resist taking a look because it was Cliff Chiang, an artist who I really enjoy. And I was kind of, it took a while to seep in because another story about Gotham. But as I thought about it a little more and reread bits of it and then talked about it on the show on LahRasa's channel, I realized I think this is a really great comic so far. I'm a little nervous of passing judgment without all 3 issues out. But I think it's about, 48 pages or so of story on this big size. So I think it's well worth the $7. And hopefully it will come out in a hardback trade when they're done. But so I'm kind of excited now. And I feel like if the field of Batman comics and Batman related and Gotham comics weren't so crowded, this might be a real event, a real special book that people would remember for a long time. But chances are, in the flood of Batman books, it'll get some good reviews like from people like me and then probably be forgotten. I hope I'm wrong about that. So this was a surprise to me and a big delight, and really capped off a good comic book reading week for me. So I hope you're having a good comic book reading week, and I will be back soon in one form or another